It's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the House of Bloodstein, Perlamum, Chapter 13, Shook. And we are pretty much right in the center of the book. And surprise, we're probably also going to be reading Chapter 14, which is called Mare, as the Shook chapter is only a few pages long. In our previous chapter, the gang entered the temple of the Mad Black Hat of Wham, Wilhella Cormand-Grande, and had a massive conflagration against her Shadowtech beasts, against their rivals, the Wonderlucks, and their hired gun, Scrib Tiffin, Portator of Shook. Everybody was trying to get their grubby paws on the instructions for Wilhella Cormand-Grande's Perlamum pieces, and she sat there giddy as these desperate factions fought to the death to get it out of there alive. Along the way, a lot of Shadowtech was destroyed. King proved his worth as a powerful Silvertech familiar and took down a lot of Shadowtech monsters. Kay and Sam team up to save Rothaba of George's Hideous warrior, whom the Wonderlooks had tried to assassinate with a Zaffin hemolizer. They chopped her head off with the hemolizer on it, and she grew another head. What happened to her after that, to the Hideous warrior, is unknown at this time. They got out with the disc, confronted Scrib Tiffin again, as the man who cannot die. He just gets killed left and right, but always returns from the veil of death just fine. They escaped and returned with Thomasina the 19th back to the safety of her orbiting vessel, the Sparrow. Let's dig in here, shall we? Chapter 13, Shook. They soon were safely aboard the Sparrow, high in orbit over Wham. Sarah and Philip finally came to as the operator lifted the cable car into position over the vast bay and then set it down. Sarah's face was a swollen mess. Clara Wonderlook had roughed her up pretty soundly. Kay and Sam jumped out, followed by the woozy Sarah. "Sarah, let me get some salve and medications from my trunk. They'll help with your swellings," Sam said, worried about her. "I'm okay, Sam. Thanks, really." King flew off her shoulder and settled in the rafters. Philip remained in the car with Thomasina as it was locked into place at the far end of the bay. There were a great number of cable cars in the bay this time, many more than were previously. Singing 10 milled about everywhere. Thomasina shut the car down, and they hopped out. She made a fuss over Philip. "I'm fine, Rose, I'm fine," he said. "I'm taking the Sparrow out of orbit, and I've recalled all the remaining cable cars. Most have returned, though a few are still being reeled in. I don't trust Wilhella, and having Shook around only makes things worse. She likes to show off and throw her weight around when he's in the picture. Therefore, Wham is not safe right now." They made their way out of the bay, passing through the tight passageways of the ship, until they entered the bridge. Crew members were squeezed into all manner of odd configurations, some sitting overhead and upside down, while others were sideways on the walls. Thomasina gave a few orders, and the crew carried them out. "We're sorry you got involved in this, Thomasina," Kay said. "This isn't the first time I've come to grips with Wilhella and other black hats dwelling in Wham. With Wilhella, it'll blow over fairly soon. She has a rather limited attention span. Something will come up shortly that will rivet her thoughts, and that will be that. In the meantime, it's best to give her a wide berth." She eyed Sarah's black eyes and swollen chin. "Sarah, let my people look at you." "I'm okay, really, and the next time I see that Wonderluck chick, I'm gonna lay her out." Thomasina shook her head. "Very well." She held out her green-gloved hand. "May I see the disc, Lord Blanchford?" Kay reached into his coat and handed it to her. Thomasina popped it into a terminal and called up the header. Data swirled in a holographic display. Who was that man, Rose? That Scrib Tiffin of Shook character? I've never seen anything quite like him, Philip asked. Well, that's a good question, isn't it? He's a celebrity here in Wham and elsewhere in Zaffin space. He was a prince in the House of Sarander, I think, and made his way up from there. He starred in a number of films here in Wham, mostly of a rather pornographic nature. He rose to fame several years ago when he dared to marry a black hat, Wilhella Cormand-Grande. How does he keep getting horribly killed and coming back like nothing happened? Sarah asked. That's another good question. His story varies, but usually centers around some odd magical device he has access to. This device, according to him, gives him the ability to thwart death. Whatever the case may be, the proof is in the results. He does not stay dead, ever. He fired that gun of his at me, Sarah said. It was horrible. I was pretty certain I was going to die. He calls it his shookalator. It's a unique gun that uses shadow tech. It's supposed to optimize itself to your weaknesses, so it does different things depending on who it's pointed at and what it'll take to kill that person. Sometimes it fires bullets, sometimes it fires energy beams. It's different every time, and it's said to be infallible. However, depending on Shook's mood, it might not kill, it might simply incapacitate. It depends on if he's smiling or frowning. Thomasina turned to the data from the disc. Let's see here. On the floating display, a lengthy list appeared. It was a list of Perlamum pieces, starting with the Jester and ending with the King. One of the pieces, the left bishop in the center of the list, was crossed off. Sam rubbed her eyes and seemed faint. Kay attended to her. Sam? I need my drops, Kay, and my medications. I feel rather weak, and I'm having difficulty seeing. Please. Kay helped her. Thomasina, I need to retire to the Goshawk with Sam. She needs her medications at once. Is your knee countess wounded? No, but space travel doesn't agree with her. I see. She called out to one of her crew. Jaredane, please show Lord Blanchford and his knee countess to their ship. If they require anything, make it available to them. The woman in green armor unstrapped herself from her upside-down chair and floated past Kay and Sam. This way, please, she said. Kay and Sam followed, exiting the room. Thomasina watched them depart. She is a beautiful woman, though a little suspect in her constitution. Sarah rubbed her aching face. Sam's stronger than a bull, but she's an Anuian Monima. Take her away from her home world, from Cana, and she quickly weakens. When she's right, though, you wouldn't want to mess with her. She outmuscled a High-Tath warrior down there. Philip looked at the list. Sam will be fine when she gets her medications. Now let's attend to this list here. I see the left bishop is already crossed off the list, Thomasina said. That's because we already fetched it. Number 6 helped us get it on Xandar. Thomasina grimaced. The same number 6 who was roasted and eaten live on Wilhella's broadcast for all of Wham to see? Who is she? That wasn't number 6. Kay said it was Shadowtech, Sarah said. Number 6 is safe and sound back on Xandar. Wilhella was just trying to scare us. Number 6 is an ex-Black Hat from Holly, I think. She's part of the Xandar 44 sisterhood. She's got a big crush on Kay, has always liked him quite a bit. While Sam was dead, number 6 was the front runner for taking Kay's hand. Countess Sigillis even trained her on how to control her Silvertech in Kay's presence, and she sent a trunk of her clothes to the castle. She was going to move in, but then there was Sam, again, back from the dead, and then number 6 was gone. Sam hates her, just hates her. She found the trunk of her clothes that she'd sent over and shredded the clothes and then sent them back to her in tatters. Thomasina pinched Philip's cheek. It seems Blanchford men are universally irresistible. Yeah, whatever, Sarah said, sighing. So let's see, where are the rest of these pieces? Lady Chrysania has a specific set of pieces she needs. The others she doesn't care about. First on the list is the Jester. She says she needs the Jester most of all. Don't be surprised if it's hidden in a pretty rough spot. The Jester is a very desirable piece to have, Philip said. Thomasina highlighted the listing labeled Jester and brought up the information. They were expecting a lengthy cryptic clue, possibly a poem or anagram. Instead, all that popped up on the screen was
NXY 477A Idam
"What's this?" Sarah asked. Philip studied the listing. The first part appears to be a transponder code. Looks like many that I've seen. I'm not certain about the second part. Thomasina darkened a little. I should have known. She barked a few commands, and the crew altered the Sparrow's course. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "What's Idam?" Philip rolled his eyes. "Sarah, being a Vith, your lack of Vith history is truly appalling. The word Idam in Vith means hell." "Hell? It means hell? That's awesome!" "No, it's not, Sarah," Thomasina said. "It's a planet near the Great Zaffin Nebula outside Bergen, and it's aptly named. It's in the middle of Zaffin space, and it's a habitable world. However, it's not claimed. It's not part of the Zaffin Armada. To the Zaffins, it's known as Idam, Hellas, and various other names. Here in Wham, we call it Mare, after the word for certain death." Sarah's swollen eyes widened. "Wow! I would have thought a habitable planet in Zaffin space would have been claimed long ago," Philip said. "It's not abandoned for lack of trying. Many Zaffin households attempted to place their shield on Mare or Idam or whatever you wish to call it over the centuries, and none succeeded. They returned with tales of a truly hellish world defended by invincible demons. Some never returned at all. The lost armada of various households, including one from Clovis, launched from right here in Wham. The last household to attempt to take Mare was the House of Bergen. Several centuries ago, the Bergens decided to invade the planet and claim it. On their approach, the Bergen Armada found Mare to be a potentially rich, bountiful world sporting a vast ring and needing no apparent terraforming, a prize well worth taking. The Bergens went in with their warships, eager to subjugate it. "And what happened?" Sarah asked. The attack failed. They quickly discovered that the ring around Mare isn't a usual ring. It's not made of rock and bits of ice, as a spacefarer might expect. "Well, what is it?" "According to the stories, the ring around Mare is composed of dead bodies. Millions of them, somehow treated to withstand the rigors of space." Sarah's blackened eyes grew wider still. Talk like this was right up her alley. "Dead bodies?" she asked. "Are you serious?" The Bergens claimed that as their warships approached, the ring around Mare came to life and attacked them, penetrating their ships and slaying all within. It got so bad the Bergens had to retreat and fire upon their own vessels, which they considered to be tainted. Mare's fearsome reputation is well earned, and it has been left alone ever since. Quite a feat, really, given all the ambitious Zaffin warlords coming and going. "That's horrible," Sarah said, transfixed. Thomasina wasn't finished. "Some also say that the Vorsham Consortium actively sells the bodies of dead sailors and others to persons unknown from Mare to keep their ring well stocked." Sarah made some notes in her pocket terminal. "Okay, this is starting off great. What's the next piece? The next one we need is the Queen." Thomasina backed up and highlighted the Queen. The data on the holo vanished, and the floating form of Wilhella appeared, wagging her finger in reproach. "More Whammick," Philip said. "Possibly," Thomasina replied. "Or could be that our friend Wilhella has the disc loaded not to advance until the previous one has been recovered." "So we're stuck with the Jester on Mare?" Philip said. "What's wrong with that?" Sarah asked. "I'm dying to see this ring of dead guys that they got for myself. Can you imagine?" "We'll mount up on the Goshawk and head out, Rose," Philip said. "You then withdraw and wait until Wilhella loses interest in us." "I believe I am with you now, Philip," Thomasina said. "We are setting course for Mare. Once we're in range, we'll mutually decide a suitable course of action." She smiled. "See? I'm getting a bit better. I'm not used to negotiating and compromising. I'm used to issuing demands and making orders, but I know you don't react well to those." "No." Kay returned to the bridge. He was alone. "Where's Sam?" Sarah asked. "Asleep in the Goshawk. She's taken her medications and drops. They always make her a little sleepy. She's fine. She just needs her rest." "Have we determined where the pieces are?" "We have," Sarah said proudly. "At least we discovered where the next piece is. We won't be able to see the others until we first collect the Jester." "All right. Where's the Jester?" "Somewhere in Mare." "Where's that?" Sarah and Philip fully briefed Kay. He was horrified. And with that, we conclude Chapter 13, Shook. And as I stated way back at the beginning of my House of Bloodstein narrations, all of my author Compachos were all over me about zombies. Like, hey, Ren, you gotta write about zombies, man. Zombies are cool. You gotta get on the train. You gotta catch this vibe. I know I don't. Zombies are boring. A zombie apocalypse is boring. And you can't argue with that. It's the same goddamn thing over and over again. I'm not going to stick zombies in my story just because other people are doing it. No. If I'm going to have zombies, they're going to be cool. And so I kind of forgot about it, but my brain was still churning. And then I think I was in the shower. Maybe I hit my head on the tiles, or I was having dinner. Who knows? It hit me. What if you had a planet like Saturn with a ring around it? And what if, as you get closer, the ring isn't just made out of ice and rock and shit like that? If it's made out of flippin' zombies. I mean, it's weird. It's outrageous. It's right up my alley. I think I can deal with that. So, there is my planet Mare with a ring composed of zombies. And in the next chapter, Mare, which we will read in mere moments, we encounter this legendary planet where the dead men float and see what's going on there and see just how cool zombies can be when you put your head into it, when you use your imagination. So, let's proceed. Chapter 14, Mare. After 2 days of travel through space, the Sparrow arrived near Bergen. The ship was fully cloaked, but not by Kay. Thomasina had a number of cloakers aboard, and they masked the ship quite well. Undetected, the Sparrow slid past the Bergen shipping lanes and plunged into the dark, empty spaces near the boundary of the Great Zaphon Nebula. A point of bluish light hanging before the living tapestry of the nebula eventually appeared in the far distance and came into focus. Ahead was Mare, a place of legend and nightmares. It was a largest, oblong world with a generous, somewhat arid landmass and a pristine, clear atmosphere. Around the planet drifted a disordered gallery of large and small moons arranged in a messy collection of orbits. There it is, Thomasina said. Mare. It's a terrestrial world, iron core, about a 3-to-1 ratio in land versus sea. Average temperature, 25 degrees Celsius, rather like Xandar. It's also in the Zaphon designation Type O, which means it's suitable for habitation without the need for terraforming, or Type 1 as referenced in the League. That's why the Bergens and everybody else wish to claim it. Spanning the equator of the planet like a massive belt was the now dreaded, or in Sarah's case, highly anticipated, ring. It was much more difficult to see clearly than they had expected. It was a slight disappointment to Sarah, who was expecting something much more garish and grand. Thomasina placed the Sparrow in a deep, irregular orbit well away from the ominous planet. Out came the Goshawk under Kay's cloak for a closer look. They soon passed an automated barrier placed there centuries ago by the Bergens, warning travelers to stay away.
Here is Edam. Some call it Hellas, some call it Mare, a place of strange doings, where the dead men are never far. Beware and be full warned. Death awaits and a curse abounds, for here is Edam, where the dead men are found.
The Goshawk passed the warning by. There it is, Philip said. Rose is correct. According to the brief spectral analysis, it's a Type 1 world. Rocky, blanketed by a thick oxygen-nitrogen-based atmosphere. I'm detecting sizable bodies of water and several large land masses of varied topography. Technology level, unknown. Okay, enough about that. What about the bloody ring? Sarah asked, slavering with excitement. Get to the good stuff. Philip adjusted the Goshawk scanners and took readings from the ring. Well, first of all, it's not very reflective, he said, looking at the data as it came in. I'm detecting trace amounts of metal, refined metals, crystalline structures resembling glass, synthetic compounds, a little organic material, and that's about it. No rock, negligible amounts of ice. Very strange. Sam looked at the distant world floating in the glass. I don't like it, she said, pulling her hair back out of her face. It's a place of death. We have stories of the dead coming from the skies and falling to the ground like shooting stars. You do? Sarah squeaked. I've never mentioned anything about that before. Sam was incredulous. Why would I? It's not a bedtime story. But Sam, you know I love that stuff. We're sisters-in-law. We'll discuss it further later when we get home, okay? Sam uttered a quiet, astonished word in Annui. Sarah's bold bravado still shocked her a bit. Thomasina stared out the glass. The ring is much harder to see than I thought it would be. King, Sarah asked, what are your thoughts about all this? From behind, he spoke. They sleep. Okay, great. Thanks for that. She turned to Kay. Kay, what do you see? Kay looked out the glass and released his sight, zooming in on the planet through the empty stretches of space, covering the distance in great loping grabs. Well, it's far away, he said. Give me a moment. Out went Kay's sight. Nothing and nothing. So far, so vast and empty. Just when he thought he'd reached his horizon, he opened up and went a little farther, until at last the ring drifted into his sight. There it is, Kay said quietly. I see it. What do you see? Sarah demanded. Give me a moment. He zeroed in on the ring. There wasn't much to it. Mostly empty space, populated by the occasional bits of dark, spiraling material. Straining, he focused. I see forms making up the composition of the ring. I see tiny forms. Bodies? Sarah said. Kay focused. Swallowing, ravenous, Sarah slammed him in the shoulder. Well, Kay, what do you see? Just like I said, I see bodies floating in space. They're far apart from each other, miles between each one. Details, Sarah whined. Are they wearing anything? Are they naked? Kay strained and gazed into the distant cosmos. They're not naked, Sarah, for creation's sake. They're wearing pressure suits of some kind, black, with large tanks at their back, like environmental tanks the astrotators wear. I see hoses and tubes running about. What do they need a spacesuit for? Sarah asked. They're dead, right? Philip spoke up. A body, unprotected, wouldn't last long in the frigid vacuum of space. The suits they're wearing probably equalize the pressure and help to regulate an optimal atmosphere of some sort for preservation. What else, Kay? Sarah demanded. As I said, they're thinly spaced out, perhaps 1 or 2 bodies every 3 or 4 square miles. They're all positioned the same way, with their legs bolt straight and held fastened together. Their arms are held straight out level with their shoulders, like a capital T. Sarah tried to visualize the situation. You mean like this? She said, holding her arms out at her side and then throwing her head back. Yes, Kay said, like that. What else? Are they wearing helmets? They're wearing a clear, fishbowl-like helmet over their heads, capped with what appears to be a short, somewhat crooked antenna. Can you see their faces? Sarah wanted to know. Will you leave him be? Sam said, cross. Sam, this is important. Can you see their faces, Kay? Yes or no? Yes. What do they look like? They look dead, Sarah. What do you want me to tell you? They're men and women, and I see young faces as well as old ones. There seems to be a great disparity in size. Some of the bodies appear to be giant-sized, while others are tiny, like shrunken people. It's difficult to tell without a firm point of reference. Oh, look, I see several odd animals thrown in as well, wearing 4-legged spacesuits. Animals? Their eyes are closed like they're sleeping, and their skin is parchment-like and peeling. Some of them appear to be destroyed. Their helmets seem to have cracked, and the dead body within has exploded into a frozen, sundered mass. Sarah was beside herself. She ran to the cockpit and gazed out the glass at the forlorn ringed planet in the distance. Damn! Kay stepped back from the glass, his gaze fixed on the distant planet beyond. Wanna see, Sarah? He said absently. He already knew the answer. Yes, I want to see. Are you going to pull one back here? Do it, Kay, do it. Sam was alarmed. Kay, you cannot. These creatures go against the gods. Oh, Sam, come on. Screw the gods. Do it, Kay. I want to see. Kay reached out with his hands and then pulled back. In his hands was the suited form of a dead body from Mare's ring. Sarah was open-mouthed. Would you look at that? Wow. This right here was worth the trip. They gathered around, taking in the sight. It was a male body, about 1.5 feet tall, like a large doll. He wore a black spacesuit capped with a round fishbowl helmet. The spacesuit was made from some sort of slick polymer. His round helmet was clear, showing a distorted dead face within. He looks like a dead Zaffin, possibly a sailor or some other unfortunate, not offered the decency of a burial, Thomasina said. Why is he so tiny? Because he's awesome, that's why, Sarah said, feasting her eyes on him. Philip surveyed the body shimmering in Kay's hands. It's wearing a pressure suit of some sort. These tanks here must be regulating the internal environment to a minimal degree and maintaining a preserving atmosphere within. Got him pickled, Sarah said. She reached up and gave the helmet a rap with her knuckles. Sam gazed at the tiny dead man in Kay's arms. She lightly tugged on his shoulder. Put it back, Kay, please. It's horrid. I can feel its sadness. It should be given peace and the decency of a proper burial. What of its soul? Without warning, a red light began flashing on the antenna, and the tanks at its back hissed, venting foul gases. His body came to life, minute ice crystals coating his suit, tinkling and breaking. He grunted and thrashed, gnashing his teeth. A muffled graveyard roar came from within the helmet. He dug his tiny fingers into Kay's arm. Kay cast the thing away, and the writhing figure with its blinking antenna vanished back to where it had come from, far away over the planet. Wow, he had a grip. He's small, but he's strong. That was way cool, Sarah said. Did you all see that? It was horrible, Sam said. To be suspended in space, unmourned, unburied, it's blasphemy. How can the gods allow such a thing? That man no doubt has loved ones out there somewhere who are missing him, wondering what's become of him. He became a dead guy in space, Sam. It doesn't get better than that. Thomasina shook her head. No, I agree with Sam. This fate could not possibly be any worse. He's been transformed into a minuscule, soulless demon. Yeah, about that, Kay. Get a big one in here, Sarah said. Right now. I forbid it, Sam said. It's too dangerous. Philip went back into the cockpit and punched up information on a scanner. I have a hunch. He fiddled with the controls. The coordinates for the disk read NXY 477A. So if I perform a search for the transponder code NXY 477A, let's see. A blip appeared. Yes, look here. Look here. There it is, right smack dab in the center of the ring. There's the piece we need. Hella has probably affixed it to one of those bodies out there somehow. Sarah returned to the cockpit and gazed at the planet beyond. She squinted. Philip, does the ring look slightly reddish to you right now? It seems to have taken on a red hue. It wasn't doing that before. Philip glanced out the glass. I do see a change. Wait. He checked his scanners. I am detecting traces of movement in the ring and indications of red pulsating light. Thomasina seated herself next to Philip. It's the old stories come true, she said. I'll wager the one body we somehow activated has now activated all the bodies that were floating near it, and they in turn have activated others, so that now the entire ring is alert with activity, just like a beehive that's been excited into frenzy by just one bee. Philip checked his scanners again. Looks to be true. The ring is now saturated with red pulsating light, and where before the bodies were stationary in relation to each other, now they're all moving about. What are we supposed to do? Sam asked. How are we going to get the Jester without getting ripped to pieces? He's just a little guy, Sam, Sarah said. Yes, and according to Kay, there are giants out there as well. Sarah thought a moment. I know, we could send King. He can fly through open space, and he can carry a lot. We'll send him out there, have him fetch the piece. What do you think, King? Kay asked. He sat silent on the head of the pilot's chair. They all turned away, and he spoke. If so you wish, he said. I wish it, Sarah added. Philip checked his scanners. Wait, I'm detecting indications of rocketry. Kay sighted back to the planet. The ring was alive with red lights and the sparkle of rockets. I see dead men rocketing towards our position even now. They're proceeding at high speed. Confirm, Philip said. At their current rate of travel, they'll reach our position within the hour. I think if we stay here, we're going to be overwhelmed. But what about the peace? Sarah cried. Kay spoke. We need to fully re-examine this situation. Otherwise, we could all end up dead. Let's return to the Sparrow, clear the area to a safe distance, and then consult with the professor back in Blanchford. Perhaps he'll have some novel idea to present. That means we'll have to tell Kai our findings, Sarah said with dismay. She might try to horn in. On this, Sam asked. I say let her. The dead bodies in space might be a bit much for her, and for us as well. What about those Wonderluck snotbags and Shook? What if they show up? Then they'll have to contend with the dead too, Kay said. They didn't impress me that much in Wilhella's temple. Without our assistance, those braggarts would all be dead right now. The ring around Mare was alive, with slow, amoebic movement, dappled in the haze of red light and blinking patches of rolling lights. Sam stared at it. Can we please quit the area? I'm becoming rather concerned. The dead approach. We got plenty of time, Philip said. Sam was terrified. I don't care. Let us leave now. Philip turned the Goshawk and they left Mare behind. They redocked with the Sparrow, leaving the area at a rapid rate. A message came in from the holo terminal from their new friend, Wilhella Cormand-Grande. What's the matter? Scared? Were the four of you not going to tell me any of this? Kai asked, incredulous over the comm. No, you Vith really take the cake sometimes. Wow, how dumb can you four be? Don't include me in this, Sam said. I wanted nothing to do with it. At least one of you has some sense. We have a task to perform, Kai, one that you gave to us, so don't be mad if we're seeing it through to the end, Sarah said, defiant. I ought to kick your little ass when you get back, Sarah. If you'd been hurt or worse, killed, I'd have never forgiven myself. Yeah? Well, don't lose any sleep over us, okay? Kai seemed to soften a little. She laughed. How big did you say Kay's penis was? It was huge! I must admit, I'd like to have seen that for myself. All right, Sarah, as my deputy, I'm ordering you to return to Blanchford at once. But Kai, we're already out here and no buts. Young lady, I want you back here now. Come on home and we'll fill my husband in on everything you've discovered and see what he has to say. I'm sure he'll come up with an easy solution to all of this. He always does. I'm not really in your jurisdiction right now, you know, Sarah added. Kai threw Sarah an obscene onerous gesture and calmed off. And with that, we conclude Chapter 14, Mare. So our intrepid gang of adventurers head out to the creepy planet of Mare. They see this ring, and sure enough, it's composed of dead bodies. Kay, using his gift of sight, he can interact with things that are either far away or in the past or the past, present, or future, was able to pull one back, and so that Sarah could see it. It was a little tiny guy, not more than a couple feet tall, wearing a spacesuit, dead, fishbowl helmet, antenna, and then his antenna started lighting up red and he came to life, and the tanks at his back started exuding gas. And then Kay quit his sight and the little guy returned back to the ring, and then he in turn woke up his fellow zombies, and they came to life too, and then started, closing in on their position. So, and the Jester is out there somewhere in that ring attached to one of those zombies. Somehow Wilhella attached it to him, and there it is. So if they want the Jester, they're gonna have to deal with one of these dead guys, and it looks pretty dangerous. So that was my big idea for zombies. We'll see what you think as the story progresses and what their solution is for getting this playing piece away from the zombie that it's stuck to. Next week, we continue to Chapter 15, The Professor. To remind you, the professor who has no name. I've never given him a name. Don't ask me why, he just doesn't have one. He has one. Kai knows what it is, but nobody else knows. So they just call him the professor. Sometimes they call him Professor A to Z, but that's, not too often. It's usually just the professor. And we'll see what the professor has to say when we continue next week, Chapter 15, The Professor. We're just over halfway through the book, and we'll see how this crazy quest turns out. So then, until next time, this is Ren Presents. I am your host, Ren. Peace out.